I awoke to the sterile scent of antiseptic and the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. My leg, encased in plaster, was a constant reminder of my vulnerability. It didn't hurt as much as before, but every now and then I could feel it throbbing harshly. The hospital room, usually a flurry of white coats and soft-soled shoes, was oddly quiet in the dead of night, which was something I was grateful for, since I didn't feel like listening to constant chatter at the moment. I had broken my leg after falling down a long set of stairs, and after lying in gruesome pain, someone called the hospital for me. It was a sharp break of the bones, an odd crunch that reverberated through my body and took my breath away. Since I lived in a house alone, I at least had peace of mind that no one would be frantically worrying about me unless I said something. While I gave a long, fatigued sigh, I heard the rumbling of something, maybe a truck, suddenly start up. I expected the noise to go away after a few minutes, but instead it started getting louder, stronger. This was no truck or large vehicle coming by. This was something else. Without warning, the earth began to tremble. The gentleness of the rumbling soon gave way to violence. The entire building felt like it was being thrusted into the air before it fell back down again. The walls groaned, the floor buckled, and the ceiling tiles danced chaotically above me. I was alone, my calls for help swallowed by the roar of the crumbling world around me. The bed jolted, wheels screeching as it slid across the floor. My heart pounded against my chest, each beat screaming survival. The window shattered, showering me with glass, and the lights flickered, casting monstrous shadows that clawed their way towards me. I couldn't think clearly because it was all happening so suddenly. I knew that this was an earthquake, but I was unprepared as to what to do because this was my first time experiencing one. Then the unthinkable happened. The ceiling split open, a gaping maw ready to swallow me whole. I watched, helpless, as a slab of concrete descended, its shadow growing over me like the Grim Reaper's cloak. In a desperate act, I threw my body to the side, the cast on my leg a cumbersome weight. The slab crashed down, missing me by mere inches, pulverizing the bed where I had lain seconds before. It seemed as though some good being was looking out for me. Either that, or I had just been blessed by a miracle I would never forget. Silence returned, as sudden as the quake had been. I laid there, amidst the rubble, panting and slightly bruised, but alive. The taste of dust and fear was thick in my mouth, but it was the silence that was truly horrifying. It was the silence of a grave, a tomb for the living, and I was its unwilling occupant. I wondered if everyone else in the hospital had managed to survive the earthquake, or if I had been the only one. These thoughts haunted me, but I had to focus on getting to a safer area. There are typically aftershocks, smaller earthquakes that occur after the main one. I remembered hearing my teacher say when I was younger and learning about natural disasters in my class. Aftershocks, huh? Then I'll have to be very aware and hope that they don't strike when I'm weakest, like this one did. The day had been oppressively hot, the kind of heat that made the air shimmer and the pavement sticky underfoot. I had just stepped out of the grocery store, my mind preoccupied with the mundane task of putting away the groceries. But as I pushed the cart towards my car, I felt a sudden drop in temperature and the sky darkened ominously. I looked up to see the clouds roiling into a monstrous formation, the color of bruises and deep despair. A siren began to wail in the distance, a harbinger of the chaos to come. People spilled out of the store behind me, their faces etched with fear as they too saw the behemoth that was the tornado tearing across the land towards us. Panic erupted, shouts and screams pierced the air as everyone scrambled for safety. I abandoned my cart and sprinted to my car, the keys shaking in my hand. I could hear the roar now, a deafening, soul-shaking cacophony that drowned out the cries around me. I managed to start the car and floored the accelerator, but the tornado was upon us. It was like being in the grip of a giant. The car lifted and buffeted as if it were no more than a toy. Windows shattered, sending glass flying like deadly confetti. I could feel the car being torn apart, the metal groaning in protest. For a moment, I was sure it was the end. The world was a blur of wind and debris, and I could feel the car being pulled towards the vortex. But then, as quickly as it had begun, the pressure eased. I didn't hesitate. I drove as fast as I could, steering through the chaos, away from the relentless pull of the tornado. When I finally stopped, miles away, the silence was surreal. I stepped out of the battered car, my legs weak but holding. Behind me, the town was unrecognizable, a landscape of destruction where homes and lives had been uprooted and scattered without mercy. I stood there, amidst the wreckage of what had been an ordinary day, feeling a mix of relief and profound sorrow. I had survived, but at what cost? The town was in ruins, and the lives of those I knew would never be the same. The tornado had passed, but it had left its mark on us all, a reminder of how fragile life truly is. Hope you enjoyed that story, and I'll see you in the next one. See you on the flip side.